Have you ever been walking down a street and just wondered why it's there? Why it zigs when you feel like it should zag? Well, it turns out every single street, every park, every building in your city has a secret story. It's a physical record of a battle of ideas that's been raging for centuries. So let's dig in and uncover this secret history, one that's written in stone and steel.
I mean, really think about it for a second. You've probably been there, right? Totally lost in the charming, winding lanes of an old European city. Or maybe you felt that rigid, almost military order of a place laid out like a chessboard. Well, that's no accident. It's actually the clue to a massive conflict over how we build our world.
And this is what it all boils down to. On one side, you've got the ruler's vision. This is the top-down, geometric plan. It's all about control, efficiency, and showing off how powerful you are. And on the other side, you've got the people's footprints. This is the messy, organic, bottom-up city that just grows. It follows the natural paths and habits of the actual community living there.
So, this brings us to what we can call a tale of two cities. But here's the twist. We're not talking about two different places. We're talking about the two competing ideas that are fighting for control inside of every single city, shaping its very soul.
So the next time you're out, just remember, the layout of your town is anything but accidental. It's a living history book. It tells you exactly who held the power, what they cared about, and how ordinary people had to adapt or even push back just to make a life for themselves.
All right, let's jump in the time machine and see where this whole thing started. First stop, the ancient world. This is where these two big ideas first got built on a massive, massive scale.
If you look at the earliest cities, like in Mesopotamia, they were the ultimate expression of that ruler's vision. I mean, everything, and I mean everything, was built to serve the king and the gods. The giant palace temple wasn't just another building. It was the center of their universe. Everybody else, well, they just lived in its shadow. But then, over in ancient Greece, something completely different starts to happen. The big, scary palace for the king, it vanishes. And in its place, you get the agora, the public square. And this was a revolutionary idea. Suddenly, the heart of the city wasn't a private fortress anymore. It was an open space for citizens to meet, to trade, and to argue.
Then come the Romans. And man, they took that ruler's vision and just put it on steroids. Their engineering was absolutely incredible. We're talking aqueducts, paved highways crisscrossing the continent, complex sewer systems. The Roman city was a finely tuned machine built to project imperial power on a scale the world had never even dreamed of.
But behind those grand marble columns, a much darker story was playing out. While the emperors were busy building monuments to themselves, the average person in Rome was packed into these rickety, flammable apartment blocks. The city was a spectacle for sure, but it was also a place of really deep, really dangerous inequality.
Just let this number sink in for a second. By the 4th century, Rome had over 46,000 apartment buildings, compared to less than 2,000 private houses. That one statistic tells you everything you need to know. This was a city stretched to its absolute breaking point, built for the glory of a tiny few and the survival of the many.
Okay, so after Rome falls, the whole board gets wiped clean. And in this next era, we see the pendulum between our two visions swing back and forth, dramatically.
The medieval town was a huge win for the people's footprints. Seriously. They were walled up for defense, and those confusing maze-like streets, totally on purpose. They were designed to slow down and confuse any invaders who managed to get inside. Life was focused on the market and the church. It was organic, it was human-sized, and it was built for the community.
But, of course, the pendulum swung back. With the Renaissance, you have these incredibly wealthy families and powerful rulers who want to show off. So what do? They start carving these huge, straight avenues right through the old medieval towns, creating these grand views that lead directly to their new, fancy palaces. The city, once again, becomes a stage for power and wealth.
And then, everything gets thrown into a blender. The Industrial Revolution hits, and it is a total game changer. This period pushes that conflict between the vision of the powerful and the needs of the people to its absolute chaotic limit.
It created this brutal, relentless cycle. The factories needed tons of workers, so people flooded into the cities. This made land prices shoot through the roof, and so land speculators just threw up the cheapest, darkest, most unsanitary housing they possibly could to cash in. This wasn't a city for people, it was a machine for profit. And if you want to see just how bad it got, look at this, 85%.
That's how much of a building lot was covered by the infamous dumbbell tenement in New York. They left these tiny, pathetic little air shafts for light and ventilation. It was a design that perfectly summed up the logic of the time. Profit over people, period. So as you can imagine, things got so unbearable that people finally said, enough is enough. A powerful reaction was building, and for the first time, people started to believe that maybe, just maybe, a better city was something you could actually design on purpose. All that filth and despair of the 19th century city gave birth to a truly revolutionary idea: urban planning. It was a movement born out of protest, basically a declaration that the way our cities are designed is way too important to be left to greedy speculators and just chance.
Now, a key player here was a guy named Ebenezer Howard, and he came up with this idea called the Garden City. His big plan was to escape the chaos of the industrial city by building brand new, totally planned towns that would have all the jobs and excitement of the city, but also the health and beauty of the countryside.
And here's the core of his idea, and it's pretty brilliant. It's all about separating the town from the country. The city itself would be pretty compact, but then it would be surrounded permanently by a massive green belt of farms and nature, 5 times bigger than the town itself. This would protect it from endless, ugly sprawl forever.
So when you lay it all out like this, you can really see this constant tug-of-war, can't you? The pendulum just swings back and forth, from the citizens' agora to the emperor's forum, from the community maze of the medieval town to the profit machine of the industrial tenement, and finally, to the hopeful, conscious design of the Garden City, a real attempt to finally put people first.
You know, this story isn't over, not by a long shot. Just look around your own city. Every new skyscraper going up, every fight over zoning, every new community garden. That's another sentence being written in this epic. The struggle between the top-down vision and the bottom-up needs is happening right now, as we speak. So the only real question is, who are we going to let write the next chapter?